Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Wanted to kick off the video by sending a shout out to my man Carl, who lives up in the Woodstock area, and he has subscribed to the channel. He subscribed on Wednesday, and I told him I would give him his shout out on Friday since I already had 4 lined up for yesterday's video. But he is a huge NASCAR fan and a huge Clemson fan. He told me when him and I were talking, I believe it was on Sunday originally, that he is a Chase Elliott fan. I told him he's got bad taste in NASCAR drivers, but at least he has good taste in collegiate teams because he is a Clemson fan. He wanted me to send out a big Go Tigers. Carl, thank you so much for subscribing. Hopefully you enjoy today's video and enjoy the channel. Feel free to comment at any time. And speaking of NASCAR, race number 5 of the 10 races in the chase for the championship is this Sunday at 2 o'clock at Talladega. Last week's winner, Denny Hamlin, who is already automatically in the next round of the playoffs, is on the pole, followed by Kyle Busch and Carl's man, Chase Elliott. And before I get into my college football talk, I wanted to quickly say that tomorrow I'm going to be asking a question, and I'm not going to tell you right now what the question is. I'll save it for tomorrow, since tomorrow's video is going to be strictly college football. But I wanted to go ahead and say that I'm going to ask a question tomorrow about game times. And you'll find out tomorrow what the question is. Just be prepared to be asked a question tomorrow about college football game times and kickoff times. And I want your feedback when you watch the video. I would greatly appreciate it. But today we're going to talk about the games coming up tonight, because there is 3 games coming up tonight, and they will all 3 simultaneously be going on at the same time at one time coming up tonight. They're all 3 on TV on 3 different networks, and 2 of them involve ranked teams. So if you're not a fan of either one of these teams, but you just like to see upsets, then you may want to stay tuned for tonight's games. I will not be home. I'm going to watch my high school play their biggest rival, but I am going to record one of the games and watch it when I get home because I have a feeling it's going to be a good game. But tonight at 7:30, we have the Fighting Dana Holgersons, the Houston Cougars, going up against Tulsa. That's at 7:30 on ESPN. And then at 8 o'clock on Fox Sports 1, we have the number 5 ranked Iowa Hawkeyes going up against the Maryland Terrapins. And that's the game that I'm going to be recording because I have a feeling that's going to be a good football game. And then at 9 o'clock, we have another ranked team, 13th ranked BYU Cougars, going up against the Aggies, not the Texas A&M Aggies, not the New Mexico State Aggies, but the Utah State Aggies. And that game, like I said, is at 9 o'clock, and it's going to be on the CBS Sports Network. So if you're going to be home tonight and you're not going to watch your local high school team play, at 7:30 is Houston and Tulsa, 8 o'clock Iowa and Maryland, and then 9 o'clock is BYU and Utah State. And a lot of people are saying that they think BYU, even though they're independent, has a chance to at least knock on the door of making the playoffs this year if Cincinnati was to lose a game, because BYU actually plays some pretty good football teams this year. So they're 13th right now. So if they were to run the table, they probably wouldn't make the playoffs unless everybody above them had at least one loss. But they would at least finish, in the top 10, possibly the top 6, and make it close. But that would have to be absolute disaster for that to happen for everybody inside the top 10, because BYU is not like Cincinnati. They're not coming off a really good season last year. And usually if you're a group of 5 team, especially an independent team where you don't have a conference, so your schedule just changes, randomly every year, you're going to have 2 or 3 back-to-back really good years in order to make some noise, and BYU just wasn't great last year. So I don't think it would happen, but it's possible if Cincinnati loses and everybody else in the top 10 has at least one loss, that if BYU goes undefeated, they can make it happen. So if you like to see ranked teams get beat, unless it's your team, you've got 2 in action tonight. And if you like to see Cinderellas, as they call it in college basketball, make some noise and knock on the door of the college football playoff, then you might want to pull for BYU and hope they keep winning. I do think that Kalani Sitake is a good coach, but he's just not been able to recruit like BYU used to do. If he could find a good recruiter to recruit for him, I think Kalani Sitake is a good football coach. And the last thing I'm going to mention is, since it's Friday, it's officially October, so happy October, everybody. But in case you do not know, the NBA season is coming up in about 2.5 weeks. So if you're watching this video and you're a NBA fan or know someone who is, please feel free to tell them to leave me their comments. But if anybody has any predictions about the NBA season, please feel free to let me know. And I don't mean, an off-the-wall prediction that we know is just not happening. I'm a New Orleans Pelicans fan, but I'm not going to say they're going to win the NBA Finals, because we know that's not happening. But if you've got a prediction that's actually somewhat realistic, please feel free to let me know. I'll go ahead and make my prediction. I could be wrong, but I'll go ahead and make my prediction now before the season starts, so that I'm on the record way ahead of time, way early, and say that one of the 2 favorites, depending on who you ask, everybody has the Lakers and the Nets as the 2 best teams. I'll go ahead and say, if you think the Nets are the favorite, that's fine. If you think they're the second favorite, that's fine. But I'll go ahead and say the Nets will not win the NBA Finals. First reason is their bench still ain't deep enough. Second reason is, I've said it before and I'll say it again, James Harden's name should be James Harden, because there's no D in Harden. I will never pick any team that James Harden plays for to win a championship. And the third reason is, last I checked, the Nets still have Bounty, Sharman, Irving, which is what I call Kyrie, because he's softer than Bounty and softer than Sharman, because if he clips his fingernail too deep, he's not going to play. So when you've got I can't play but once a month Kyrie Irving combined with I don't play defense James Harden with the bench that's just not very deep, I'll go ahead and say I don't think the Nets win the NBA Finals. I'm not saying the Lakers are going to win it, but I do not think it will be the Nets. And if you have any opinion on Ben Simmons, please let me know in case you have not been following along. Ben Simmons says he will not play for the Philadelphia 76ers. He says if they don't trade him, he will sit out the season. And unfortunately, I don't think anything is going to change whether he gets traded or not, because he made a quote, I believe either this past Monday or Tuesday, where he said that he wants out of Philadelphia for basketball reasons. And basically he was saying him and Joel Embiid just can't play together, and he wants out for basketball reasons. Well, that's a bunch of hogwash. The reason why he wants out is because he cannot shoot. And he's tired of being criticized because he cannot shoot. And they got eliminated in the playoffs last year because he had a wide open layup or wide open dunk, whichever one he wanted to take, and instead of taking it, he passed the ball out, and they lost. Ben Simmons is a jump shot away from being easily one of the top 5 players in the NBA, but he can't shoot. And when you're a ball distributor, there becomes a time when you're going to have to be able to shoot. Otherwise, late in the game, when the team's going to start fouling, every time you touch the ball, which is going to be every time because you're the point guard, they're going to foul you. And when you cannot shoot threes and you cannot shoot free throws, you cannot be a great player. If Ben Simmons could learn how to shoot, he'd be fine. But Ben Simmons is going to have to come out and say, I've got issues, I've got problems. But instead, he's blaming it on Philadelphia and the franchise and Embiid. So if he doesn't step up and take responsibility for his own actions, it's not going to change. But he says he will not play, and the 76ers say they will not trade him. And I believe they want to trade him, but the problem is he's making somewhere along the lines of $35 million a year. So when you trade somebody that's making that kind of money, you're going to want, 3 or 4 players plus a prospect, or 2 or 3 players plus a prospect. But he's playing so bad that they're offering to trade him, and all they're getting in return is 1 player. And it's usually, some average player. And you're not going to trade a man making $35 million a year, for a backup shooting guard. So I think the 76ers want to trade him, but he's been so bad, nobody wants to take on that kind of money and give up half your team for a guy that's going to come in and go 2 for 20 from the field. So I don't think he's going to get traded, but I don't think he'll sit out the whole season. Maybe I'm wrong, but in order to get traded, if that's really what he wants, then he needs to play and show teams that he is making progress shooting the ball. And you can't show teams you're making that progress shooting the ball when you're sitting on the bench. So I don't think he'll get traded, at least before the season starts. I think he'll end up playing, but he may get traded sometime during the season if his play improves. If you have any thoughts on the Ben Simmons drama or Ben Simmons saga, whatever you'd like to call it, or the NBA, any predictions on the NBA or any of the games coming up tonight, please feel free to let me know. And once again, Carl, thank you so much for subscribing. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Why are ghosts such terrible liars? Because you can see right through them. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.